Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com where I dive deeper into these topics, deeper into individual companies, and share my opinions more freely with those companies. All right, so let's dive in here. Let's take a look and see what's going on today. I'm going to start with the dollar here. The dollar just moving sideways today. It does look like we could continue a little bit lower because we have a very weak bounce. I call that an inverted bloody nose. Big selling pressure and just a small little bounce. So we could see a little bit further pullback in the dollar before we hit support. The big support is this horizontal line that goes across at about 101.6, and we're at 104.1 or so. So we could pull back further in this general area over here. The 2-year yield, and these are the things that drive the dollar. We've seen a pretty big move in the 2-year yield lower. We are back to support for the 2-year yield. That horizontal line going across is the support level that I have drawn in there. And it's on the tops of all this trading that occurred all through here. So that's the support level that we've got. And we're right coming up to that support level in that general area right underneath us. The 10-year yield also at support, a horizontal support going across. We do have support that we are breaching to the downside here in the short term. And that horizontal support is the support level. That is the trading that occurred through this region there. So that's the support level that we've got. But we've got pretty good momentum heading lower, and we'll see if we can get into that support level and if we can break through it, which would ultimately end up, I think I drew it all on non-logarithmic. We could end up down here some point, meaning that maybe yields fall for a little while. Could potentially be the case. 30-year yield also at that support level. Horizontal support level that we've got going across, and we're just starting that support level. We've had some trading through here, so there's support underneath us, and we'll see if that holds. If we continue lower, generally speaking, if the yield curve uninverts and we go lower, that's when precious metals do very well. That's also when a chance of a potential slowdown could ignite. But we're not there yet. We have to break through all this stuff and get moving. TYX TNX ratio, we are at resistance trying to break to the upside. That is where the 10-year drops faster. The shorter end of the curve drops faster than the longer end of the curve. And if we uninvert, that is when precious metals generally do very well, much like 2018 all the way to the peak of July of 2020. And then we had the yield curve invert again. So we're trying to uninvert maybe. We're right at that trend line there. And we'll see if we actually start to uninvert, at least with this ratio here. Bond prices are higher, obviously, because interest rates are lower. And we're coming up through resistance here. It does look like we're going to give it a run here and try to work our way on up for TLT, which is bond prices on the 20-plus year Treasury bond. And then the 2 and 10, weirdly enough, we are actually inverting further. I wouldn't have guessed that. But that means that the short end of the curve didn't go down as much as the longer end of the curve. So the short end, the 2-year, was down 0.83%, and the 10-year was down 1.4%. What happens is you swing back and forth based off of the business cycle. Inflationary business cycles invert the curve. If you come towards the end of the business cycle and things are about to crash, the yield curve generally uninverts and goes lower. And you generally get a problem at some point in the market when you start getting below kind of like this 0.8 level. When you start going below that, that's when you generally have a problem. And that's when crashes most of the time occur, like in 2001, 2008, 2020, like they're all in the middle of that page there. And that's what we're watching for. We're watching that. But the curve is actually, as weird as it is, inverting further. Gold down, $22 an ounce. We've been moving sideways here. We are fighting back and forth between buyers and sellers, but we did enter this with selling pressure. It could be a continuation pattern to the downside, and that is what we could see. But that generally doesn't match very well with declining interest rates. So pretty big curveball here. Sometimes this does fall with weakness in the markets, like we saw in where is so in 2020 we saw weakness here. We saw a collapse here, and there isn't too much. 2008-9 there was a collapse as well in the gold price. So I don't think we're going to collapse, but we could get a sideways action or a potential pullback that's a little bit more drawn down than where we are today. We've got silver also selling off, and that looks like it might continue. We're getting some big candlesticks here. Generally, we don't just rocket higher next to big candlesticks. They generally work their way out a little bit, like this one here. But it doesn't also mean that we're just going to fall off a cliff. We do have support at about 28, 28.50 in that range there. So I'd expect it to kind of do something like that if I were to guess. Platinum also selling off 2.4%. I'm just looking at the lows here. If the lows continue to move up, wherever this ends up going, then everything still looks good. We've got palladium also down slightly, down about $5, and we're back to support level, right at support. And I do think that this is going to take some time. Palladium is off cycle, and what's in cycle is going to be platinum. It's already based out for multiple years, and I think it's ready to go. Palladium had its run back here all the way into about 2021. We had this kind of topping pattern, and we're coming on back, and we're back to support down here. But I think it's going to take some time. I don't think we're just going to rocket higher. You can think of it as doing something like this top here, and then this is the consolidation that we have to go through to kind of work our way through this basing consolidation pattern. I think that's coming in this section going forward there, if I were to make a guess. XAU to gold ratio, we were selling off quite heavily today, down 3.5%, but we're still broken out of this downtrend line. We're still on top of it. So maybe we're getting a return move and retesting the breakout here and scaring everybody a little bit, where some more shares exchange hands from weak hands to strong hands. But we're still above, and I'm going to remain bullish until we start breaking down. But we're coming from a really low level down here, so I'm going to remain bullish as long as we're above that trend line. I'm going to skip the CRB index. It doesn't look like that's updating. So GDX, we are back doing a return move to the breakout of the trend line for GDX. So that still looks good, and we'll see if the trend line holds. We also have GDXJ that's down today, about 4%, and we're up against that resistance level. We just haven't broken through it. So I drew, I think, a couple while back, we might just loop around and put in some sort of loop there, which is a potential when you hit some of these resistance levels, it'll loop back or go underneath and go sideways. SILJ also getting a pretty big sell-off day today, about 5%. And maybe we're going to come back a little bit back here where we got a little bit of support. Bigger picture view, we've broken out of the falling wedge. This is your falling, of course I grabbed the wrong thing there. Your falling wedge is this here. It's squeezed up into a bullish engulfing, which we're just getting a pullback right now. So I'm going to remain bullish. There's no reason to be bearish yet. And silver is above a lot of support, the physical metal itself. And it still looks really good, and we could have a big run in silver still. So SILJ still looks good to me, and we've broken out of the bigger pattern. Some people say, well, what is the potential move here? A lot of the times it can be the size of the flag pattern, which, it would put us out of this bigger pattern that's out there. If we break the bigger pattern, we could even get a bigger move on top of it. So it still looks good to me. Crude oil down 1.2%. We've got support underneath us. It's this trend line that I drew through here. We do have a hammer candlestick. That's with the wick at the bottom today. That sometimes can indicate a reversal move, but we have to see what the bounce looks like. Are we going to bounce with a big bullish engulfing, or do we come on up and roll over and kind of bounce around for a little bit? We do have strong selling pressure before this. We've got these big red candlesticks all through here, and that kind of is a little bit of momentum that drove us down into this pricing over here. So we're probably going to have to work that momentum off. It's going to take a little bit of time. But longer term, guys, if we back way out, and I drew this on logarithmic, so I'm going to keep it there. If I go log, it's going to shoot me off the page because of this wick there. But we're sitting on top of a support level. Here, I'll just do it. We're sitting on top of support, which is generally very good. Because when you're on top of support, and you know what, we could even pull back more, and it's possible to pull back here. It is possible. I'm not stating that's where we're going, and we would still not break out of the trend line. So we have a lot of downside room to maneuver in, but with some of the higher cost companies, they will go down quite a bit because we are hitting the break-even points of some of the companies in the general area that we're going into right now. And this is kind of that three-hump consolidation that is squeezing up that I look for. And maybe we can break out eventually. It is possible if we do get a slowdown in the market that this does break lower and come back and do a full retest. That would put us back in the low 60s, maybe even the 50s is possible if we get a washout sale and people get scared and there's a lot of fear in the market. If that does occur, that will be a buy of a lifetime if that does occur. And I'm not stating that that is the likely outcome. TTF gas, we are down today, but we're above a lot of support and the momentum's been going up. We just have a larger selling pressure candlestick today. It's not a reversal candlestick, but and then natural gas in America down 5%. We're coming up through some resistance here. That's that line going across. We have lots of trading coming through here, and we're coming through that section again. So a lot of the times we get stuck at these resistance levels, and we can sometimes create patterns, and we're just pushing up against that resistance where there's some selling pressure from previous natural gas holders in the futures market here at this price. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me. We were down today. We had some good momentum from yesterday that continued lower. But we do have a hammer candlestick. We are at support. And we'll see if that support level holds. It is the neckline of this inverted shoulder head shoulder. Now, let's see if we can pop back above it and see what the next trading action is over the next few days and weeks. But we do have lots of selling pressure kind of coming through here. You can see the big red candlesticks through here, and we don't have the green candlesticks as much. I was surprised by yesterday's trading action. I was like, wow, I didn't think they'd pull that big red candlestick, they being the herd. But we've pulled on back. We're back to support, and we'll see if we can get back above it. OIH also getting some selling pressure. We're back in the low 300s, upper 200s, 298 now that I see it. And we're right on support. So we'll see if that support line holds. We're right there at support, and we'll see if we can put a full frontal attack and hold the line. Sprout Physical Uranium Trust continuing to go lower. The momentum's to the downside. That still looks like we could have more downside ahead of us in the short term. URA also catching some selling pressure. We're back to the trend line where we're getting some support here. We have a little wick at the bottom there, signaling that there was some buying pressure towards the end of the day coming back up. So we'll see if that can maintain that momentum and stay above the trend line here. Uranium also getting some selling pressure, but we do have these little wicks at the bottom. Can it reverse here? We've got a lot of selling pressure these past few days, guys. So, It might take some time to do some sideways trading before we go on up. URNJ also back to support with some pretty strong selling pressure. And when you look, you have stronger selling pressure here. It is a flag pattern, and we did head lower out of this. The projected move of that flag is really small. It's just this little guy. Oops. It's this little guy here. And you could almost say that the price projection is basically met. So that is really close to the price projection of the flag pattern. So it might have already been met on the short term. And we do have support looking to the left all through this entire area here. There is support where we're at. URNJ versus URNM, underperformance of URNJ. Definitely people are selling the junior companies, and it feels a little bit like there's some more fear in the market, more than normal. TAN down a little bit. Surprisingly, we had weaker dollar, weaker yields, and this thing is just up against resistance, can't gain any traction for TAN. But maybe it'll pop through. Looks like it's got some upside momentum hitting this resistance line going across. Copper selling off, and this does look a little bit weak here. That does not look like strength. Big selling pressure candlestick. That was the beginning of the move. And now we've got another bearish engulfing today that generally indicates a lower copper price in the short term. We popped out of this big pattern here, and we're kind of getting our first pullback. So this could be the first leg up, and then we're getting another leg back, maybe something like that. Maybe we head back to $4 or something like that. I could put a fib retracement on it. And yeah, 4.26 down to $4. That's probably a likely area. COPX also feeling the pain, down 4.8%. Pretty big down day, but we're back to support, which is this level through here. So we're right in the middle of that support level. Lithium, really no change today, just kind of moving sideways. Is this a double bottom? We'll find out soon if this can get put some feet underneath it and start running to the upside. REMX down, it looks like it could be a bear pattern, and we'll see if it holds, but we could see further downside here in REMX. That is a pattern that is facing upward. Whenever you face upward, there's a chance that this can break lower. SPX holding on, up 0.15%, which is holding on compared to a lot of the other stuff. There are some bearish engulfings showing up in the chart, though, which sometimes indicate that we could be topping and starting to roll over. But that's what it looks like on a longer term. We've broken through this, could be support resistance level, but NASDAQ also just moving sideways. It's holding on, and it's been just holding. Doesn't look horrible, but valuations definitely aren't good over here either. Russell 2000, it's given in. It's starting to fall. This does look a little bit weak. We broke out of this pattern with pretty good selling pressure. We came up to do a retest, and this does look like it wants to head lower in the short term. It's a bearish engulfing pattern that we have on the weekly candlestick. If we close this week strong like that. KRE down 1.77%, does look like it wants to go lower, but we're coming through this support area, and it very well could go lower. Maybe there's problems in regional banks that we head back down to this support level. That does look like a double bottom here and a potential move up and a consolidation. So we'll see if it holds. Emerging markets down, surprisingly, we're doing a full retest here. A lot of commodities were down today, and we're right back to support, and we'll see if the support holds and if we can get a bounce here to the upside. I'm surprised that we didn't get a bounce with lower yields and the dollar not really going anywhere. XHB down 2%. That does look a little bit weak as well. Maybe we see further downside in XHB. I gained that opinion from the weeklies. You can see the big selling pressure, weak bounce with the green candlesticks, and then we're getting some big heavy selling. Generally indicates that we could head lower here in the short term till we get a big green reversal candlestick. MU down slightly today, 0.65%, but I think we're pretty good location down here for potential VanEck agribusiness ETF. Potential spots and companies to be looking at. And we're back doing a retest of a breakout that we had here. breakout, and then here's the retest. Iron ore up a little bit, up 0.42%. We had a couple of strong selling pressure moves past couple of trading days, but we'll see if we can get some support here. We've got greater, longer-term support underneath us, which is this this guy down here. Nickel down 2%, but I'm going to remain bullish on it because the momentum's to the upside. We're just getting a pullback in this upward trend or upward movement. Aluminum moving sideways today. The upward momentum, and we're not getting a ton of selling pressure. It looks like it's dying down a little bit. Hopefully I don't eat my words on that, but we do have a lot of support through here that's underneath it. So I would expect this to try to turn around here at some point. Baltic Dry Index, right on support. Still looks good. Looking for a move to go up. Iron ore's looking not too bad. And coal doesn't look horrible, even though we had a sell-off today. Here's coal. We're still above this trend line here, but we did get some stronger selling pressure today. So I'm still in the camp that we're going to go higher with time. This looks like a good entry point. It's not like way up here, but this is good all down here. It's doing a retest of the breakout here. So we'll probably go sideways like that before heading on up. Bitcoin up 1.6%, still sitting on top of everything, still looks pretty good. And then Ethereum also looks pretty good. Not much selling pressure through here. So it's kind of consolidating here. And I would guess that we're going to have a move higher until we see selling pressure. I don't see the selling pressure yet. SMCI moving sideways, almost like doing a retest. And that doesn't look too bad either. It's still holding on, looks good to go higher. And NVIDIA is still working its way on up, still looks good to move on up from this. Until it doesn't, but it still looks good in the moment. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you guys like. We still have that coupon code MAYDAY, MAYDAY, still active. Next session, question and answer session this weekend is at Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Time, just as a reminder. But that's all I've got for today, guys. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.